Today I'm going to be reviewing this robot vacuum by Yeedi. If you want to know everything about this machine, all the features, why we absolutely love it and have been using it for years and will continue for many more years to come, then this is the video for you. All right, so before I get into the unboxing and showing you how to set up the machine and how to use it and all that, let me go through a few of the features and why I love it so that you can decide if you want to keep watching this video and want to learn more, or if you already know this is a great fit for you and you want to make a purchase, or if you want to move on. So let's get into that real quick and save you some time. So for starters, this unit will vacuum and mop. I tend to call it a vacuum mop or a vacuum robot, but it is a vacuum and a mop at the same time, which is amazing. So it's got a canister for holding all the dirt as it's vacuuming, and it's got a separate canister that's going to hold some water so that it can push out the water onto a mopping pad that it's got, and it can mop as it goes. So it can either just vacuum or just mop, or vacuum and mop at the same time, which I absolutely love. It's also got a mapping function. So it's got a camera and it's going to map your house as it goes around your house the first 2 or 3 times that it goes. And you'll be able to see the map that it's creating on the app that it's also got, where you can do all sorts of stuff. So while it's mapping out your house, you'll be able to see it. And once it's done, it's actually going to assign a letter to each section of your house. So for example, one room will be room A, another section will be room B. It'll try to figure out the rooms or the sections within your house, which is a really nice function because later you can tell it, hey, I always want you to only mop when you're in room A, or I only want you to vacuum in room B, or I want you to vacuum and mop in this section of my house. And that it'll know what you want it to do and where. The other thing you can do is you can say, hey, I want it to vacuum at the max level over here, or at minimum level over here, or I want you to drop, less liquid over here when you're mopping, or more liquid over here when you're mopping. So you can really give it some great instructions. The other thing you could do in the app is you can schedule when you want it to run, and it'll automatically start running for you, which is great. So in my case, for example, I've had it run as much as 5 days a week. I currently have it running 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And so at the set time, it'll go and do the functions that I want it to do, where I want it to do it. And then when it's done, it'll come back automatically to the station, and it'll empty out the dustbin, which is a really great feature because that means that it is hands off most of the time. So other than when I have to either empty the vacuum bag, which is a normal thing for a vacuum. If you've got a canister vacuum, you're going to have to replace that bag every so often. So when I have to replace that, then that's kind of an active thing and I need to go and do that. But otherwise, from a vacuuming perspective, it's totally hands-off, which is amazing. So it just goes and does it for me and keeps the house nice and clean, and I don't have to do anything, which I think you'll probably love too if you're looking for one of these things, and that's just a really great feature. The other thing is when it's mopping, you will have to add some liquid into the little mopping canister. So that would be an active thing. You have to add some liquid, and you would have to clean out the mopping pad when it's done. The machine will actually tell you when it's done mopping. It'll dock and it'll tell you to remove the mopping plate, and that's the reminder to remove the mopping plate and wash it. So personally, when I use it, I have it set to automatically vacuum, but when I want it to mop, I'll do that outside of the regularly scheduled thing. So I'll go into the app and I'll say mop, because then I know I need to go in and I need to add liquid, and I'm going to have to wash the mopping pad after it's done. So I typically don't have it automatically mop for me because I'm going to have to go and add water and have to do that. So I use the scheduling function for vacuuming, and then when I want it to mop, I'll go into the app and I'll tell it to do that. Now, because it's got a mapping function, it also will make sure that it hits every area of your house, which is really nice. It's got a much better mapping function than what I've seen some of the other vacuums have. I've used quite a few and tried quite a few over the years. And I think that this vacuum mop combination is an amazing value for the price because it just has so many features as some of the more expensive ones have, but it has all of those packaged into a really well-functioning unit that just performs really, really well for a much better, more competitive price. So because it has that mapping function and it actually knows where it's going around your house, it's going to do these kind of like straight lines all over your house. And it's actually very impressive to watch once it's all set up, because it's going to hit every single spot. I've had others that would just miss certain spots in my house, whether it had a mapping function or not. And the other thing it seems to do, which is great, and I didn't know that this was actually a feature. I don't know that it's an official feature, but it's something that I've noticed it do, is that if it knows there's a spot in the house and there's something blocking it, it seems to come back and try to hit that spot later before it's done. So I've found it kind of come back to spots that it had been in before and do that. And I just think that that's really, really nice. And then because it's got a camera and it knows your house, it's not going to be bashing into things. Even when it's mapping it and it doesn't know your house well, it has the camera that can sense when there's like an obstacle or a wall or furniture, and it'll automatically start slowing down before it reaches that, and it'll just kind of tap it, which is really nice because I've had other vacuums in the past that would just seem to like bash into things, and you would just keep hearing these like bumping sounds throughout your house. And I always worried that it was going to damage furniture, and it was really annoying. So this doesn't do that. Now, it's also got a really, really great app. So I've already mentioned some of the things you could do to determine how it's going to mop certain areas and that you can schedule. But you can also determine, how strong the suction is, how much water it lets out. You can set up virtual boundaries. So if there are certain areas in your home, let's say like a playroom where there's Legos on the floor all the time, or a dog area where there's just, stuff that maybe you don't want it going around, you can set up a virtual boundary in the app and just say, hey, don't go in this section of the house. And as it's mopping or as it's vacuuming, it's going to avoid those sections, which is really nice. So anything that a regular vacuum is going to get caught on or suck up that it shouldn't, this vacuum will too. So you do have to keep that in mind, which is why that virtual boundary is great. You can set up the schedules, a recurring schedule, and say, hey, go every day of the week or go a couple days of the week. And if you know there are certain sections of your house that are not going to be vacuum friendly, then you can set up that virtual boundary. So it just ignores those areas until you're ready to have it clean. Now, if you wanted to go back and clean those areas later when they are ready, you can go into the app and you could just say, hey, clean, and you could tell it even where to go. You could say clean room B, for example, and it'll go directly there and it'll do what you want it to do. Also, if it's in the middle of running and you need it to stop for whatever reason, you also can go into the app and say return to dock, and it'll automatically do that. Now, when it returns to the dock, it's going to automatically empty the dustbin. So like I said, that is hands off, which is amazing. But if it's been mopping, it'll also give you a verbal message. It'll actually say out loud to remove the mop plate. And that's your reminder to remove the mopping plate and clean the pad that was on it. So you don't want that pad sitting there for days. So that's nice that it'll just kind of tell you, it'll give you that audio reminder that you need to do that. Now, if you have notifications set up on your phone, it'll also send you notifications. So it'll send you reminders for when you need to replace parts. Like let's say the filter, it'll send you reminders when you need to remove the mopping plate and you need to clean that. It'll tell you when the bag is full. It'll tell you when it's started cleaning and when it's done cleaning, or if it got stuck on something. So it'll give you those notifications as it's going, which is really nice because since it is relatively hands-off with the exception of, cleaning the mopping plate, you will probably end up forgetting it at some point. It'll just do all the stuff for you and your floors will be clean and it won't be something you think about. So those notifications are nice so that it's still running, but you don't need to do anything about it. You stop getting those notifications at some point. Okay, well, maybe it stopped running. I haven't had that happen, but it's just nice to have those reminders that it's functioning and doing everything it's supposed to do, even though you don't need to do anything about it. So those are some of my favorite features. Like I said, I've been using this machine now for years, and I'm glad that I got this kind of brand new one so I could show you the proper unboxing and setup and everything, and walk you through that. But I've been using mine for, I think at this point, 3 years, and it's been running either daily or every other day for all that time, and absolutely love it because I just don't have time to vacuum as much as I like clean floors. I just don't have the time to do that every single day. So it's nice that it's doing that for me. And it's funny because I'll tell you one of the things that we say fairly often in our household is, you know, is it actually even doing anything? Because at this point, we kind of take it for granted that the floors are fairly clean all the time. And so there are times where we're like, is this even doing anything? And then you go and look at the vacuum bag and it's just full. And sometimes we wonder where like that even came from, but it's because it's running and it's doing its job all the time that we're just used to how clean the floors are now, and we have honestly started to take it for granted. So it is worth every single penny. It is amazing to not have to worry about that and not have to think about that. And it's great that this one will just kind of do it for you to the point where you do take it for granted. So highly recommend this machine. I absolutely love it. Let me show you all the parts and pieces that are in the box and how you put it together and how you set it up. But let me tell you, this thing is pretty foolproof. In fact, even during the setup and connecting to Wi-Fi and all that, you just install the app and the machine will talk to you and the app will tell you what to do, and you almost don't even have to open the manual. I hope you like this machine. I hope you'll give it a shot because this thing has been a total game changer for us, and I think you're gonna love it. So it looks like they're packaging it the same way they did a few years ago, which is amazing. So let's start with your first piece here. This is going to contain your actual robot vacuum. And you know that because right over here, it's got a little picture of the robot. It is also nicely sealed so that you know that there's been no tampering. And here you go. Let me see if I can lift it up. All right, there you go. This is our main piece. This is the robot vacuum. Now let me show you what's in it. It already comes ready to go. Under here, when you open it, that is going to be where all of your dust eventually goes into. This is going to be your on and off button. This is a little cleaning component. And then right here, you'll see you've got a little red button as well as a QR code. That is going to help you connect to your Wi-Fi. Now inside here, our little dustbin that just pulls up like that. We've got a little filter, and this is, again, the component. This opens up, if you just press this red button, opens up so that you can empty it manually if you ever have to. You won't have to more often than not because it's actually going to empty into your vac station, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. This part over here also comes off and cleans, as does this. So you can see here, you open it. If you ever need to clean the filter or replace it, you've got this piece here and this piece here. So that is your filter. And then this is a pretty important step. I didn't know this beforehand. I don't know if it'll be able to show well on video. Let's see if I can show you here. There is a little plastic piece inside here. You can maybe hear it. You can maybe hear it. There's a little plastic piece. That is really important. So if you're ever cleaning this out manually, you don't want to lose that little plastic piece. What that is when this is inside of the machine, this part over here connects to the vac station. And when it's emptying, this will open up and all of your dirt will come out of this hole into the vac station. When it's cleaning, when it's vacuuming and it's not emptying, this little part is down, so it keeps all the dirt trapped inside here. So basically, the dirt comes in through here and gets trapped by that little plastic piece and then only opens back up when it's emptying. So when it's just kind of holding the dirt in there, you want this closed. So you definitely don't want to lose that little piece. All right, let's put that back in. I'm going to put this off to the side for just a moment. Oh, actually, let's do this next. This here is where your water component. So this is a vacuum, but also a mop, which is very important. I love mops and I don't love mopping the floor. So I like that this does this for me. So this holds your water. You would pull this part up and put your water in here. You're not supposed to put a solution in with it, but I do occasionally add a drop or two. But this can function with just plain water. That's how it's supposed to function. So you'll put your water in here and then put this back in. Now what that does is, as it's cleaning, there's a mopping pad that can attach on here that I'll show you in just a moment. As it's cleaning, it's going to release the liquid and then put it onto the pad, and then the pad is going to wipe the floor as it's going. So it can vacuum and mop at the same time. As you saw, it has two different components for that. All right, now this next piece in here this is like a little ramp for your vac station. So that's an important piece. And then the other pieces that you've got in this box are going to be your charging cable, the mopping pads that I just talked about. So this right here is what attaches to your vac station. Let me show you how that works real quick. So this piece right here clicks into place, and then this is what does your mopping. And then when not in use, it just comes right back off. And while I'm on this topic, this here comes off as well, all the way. It's just kind of Velcroed on basically. This comes off, so you can then throw this in the wash when you're done. Put that back into place for now. All right, now you've also got your little brush here. This snaps into place on your vacuum right here. And what this does is, as it's vacuuming, as it's going around, you've got your main brush right here. This will basically grab things in the vicinity and pull them in so that this brush can suck them up. And this brush can be cleaned as well. So if you have anyone like me that sheds a lot and has long hair, this piece comes out all the way so that you can take any of like the little hairs and stuff off of it that can get tangled and clean your machine every so often, which is always going to be important to do. So it's back into place. Now the other thing you're going to get in here is your screws and a little screwdriver and your instruction manual. I hope to give you enough information in this video that you know how to get started without reading this, but I do always recommend looking at the instruction manual for things like this. It'll tell you about how to maintain it, how to clean it, and just general tips in here as well that can be useful. So let's put that aside for now. We're going to need this in a minute just to put our vac station together. All right, so that's everything in this box. Now we've got another little box in here. And this here is going to be the bottom of our vac station. So I'm going to show you how that assembles in a minute, but because this is easier to show you right now, when it's not assembled, I'm going to do that real quick. So this here, these are the little charging plates. There's also little metal bits on the bottom of the vacuum. When you're inserting the vacuum, if you have to ever insert it manually, you're going to want to make sure that the plates line up. This is how it charges when it touches these two things. The vacuum does dock itself and charge, and so you don't have to worry about this most of the time. But if you ever do manually have to put your vacuum back in, you want it to touch those two plates. Now this over here, this is actually where the dirt gets sucked out of when it's emptying the dustbin. So you see it sucks out of here, and then it goes into these two components, and then goes up this hole into your vac station and into your vacuum bag. And those two components are right here on the machine. So here are your two charging plates, and then here is where the dirt gets sucked out of when it's emptying. Now, the fact that it empties is one of my favorite things about this. I've had other robot vacuums without a vac station like this, without being able to empty automatically, and just did not like them as much because I wasn't able, it wasn't a set and forget kind of thing. This absolutely is. You only have to go in and replace the bag every so often, just depending on how often you use it. But for the most part, you don't have to do anything. It's going to run, it's going to empty, it's going to do everything on its own. The only thing you ever need to do is going to be emptying the vacuum bag. All right, now the last piece we need to take out of this box is right here. This is the main component of the vac station. And over here on the bottom, this is where the dirt is going to come up, and it's going to come up into this canister right here, which you can press down, pops open, and here's your vacuum bag. These are, you can buy more of these are replaceable, but this is basically where all your dirt's going to end up. Now let me show you how you put it together. It's just 3 screws. It's very easy to do. All right, now let's put this together. Like I said, it's only going to be a couple screws. All right, so it comes with a screwdriver and your 3 screws right here. So all we're going to do is place this piece into here. And then you want to put your 3 screws in. Okay, that's it. Our 3 screws are now in place. In the back here, we have our charging cable. And then this piece right here hooks on underneath. So if you see these 2 little indents right here, that's where that hooks on. It doesn't really snap into place, it just kind of sits there. So you will want to just kind of support that as you turn it back over. All right, so that's our vac station. Let's go plug it in and get this thing going. All right.
Switch on the power before charging.
Now I've just plugged it in and put this on, and it is already telling me what to do, which is wonderful. I will say I was a little nervous the first time I got one of these. I didn't know how I was going to set it up.
Mopping plate has been installed.
But as you can see,
please remove the cleaning cloth.
It starts talking to you right away and telling you what to do so that you can set it up properly. So it's telling me to remove the cleaning cloth, so I'm going to do that real quick. It does not like you having the cleaning cloth installed while it's just doing its regular thing. And that's because it's reminding you to clean it. So this is a brand new one. It's not an issue right now, but if it docks with the cleaning cloth on it, it's going to remind you to take it off so that you know to clean it and it doesn't get all disgusting. So that can seem a little annoying the first time, but really all it's doing is it's trying to make sure that you remember to remove it and clean it. So it is now plugged in and charging for the very first time. And as you can see, you know it's on because this light is flashing and that light is on. So it's going to start charging. I'm going to connect it to the internet. And the way to do that is you see this little red button here. You're going to click on that and it's going to walk you right through it. You're going to have to install an app, a Yeedi app. And what it's ultimately going to do is it's going to show you a QR code as you're installing it. And again, it's going to walk you through every step of that. And it's going to read the QR code and use that to connect to the app on your phone and ultimately connect to your network. When it tells you that when it tells you during the setup process that it wants to scan the app, the camera is right in here. So all you're going to do is you're going to hold your phone kind of above the camera and it's going to read it for you.
I actually found that Cheerios were one of the hardest things for robot vacuums or any vacuum really to pick up. And as you can see from the first few seconds of this clip, this vacuum picks them up like a charm. It's amazing just what it can do. I hope you found this useful. I tried to go through all the features and all the little details that I've learned over the few years I've been using this machine. And I hope you'll give it a try. It's a really, really great robot vacuum.